Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Wholesale Hotties, the place where ladies in real estate are talking about real estate. I'm your host and MC for the evening, Sharon Lee Smith, together with my co-host, Donda Mullinex. Donda, before episode 52, I think we need a different intro. That's my story. That song's getting annoying to me. Tonight, I am super excited about our guest, Pam Fisher. Pam, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you could come on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So thanks.
Awesome. You're very welcome. So I always start with, how did you get started in real estate?
I had a family member that needed a place to live, and we started talking about the rental project areas and the area that we grew up in, and I was stunned at how much rentals were going for. I was like, you're kidding me. So I jumped on Craigslist and I looked up that location, and one property popped up in that area. It happened to be 5 acres, 5 mobile home lots. One of them was burned out, one of them was rented, and the others were owner owned, tenant, not tenant owned, but the homeowner. The landowner owned the properties, and he and I got to talking, and the good old Southern way to talk to somebody, and you figure out who knows who and how our families are connected. And without really knowing what I was doing at that point, I convinced him to take a down payment and let me do owner financing. And we put out that burned out old home, and I bought a repoed double wide. We moved it in and we decorated it to my family members' taste, and I charged about a third of what they would have been paying otherwise, and within 3 months I was cash flowing $800 while making a payment. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. So I dug in really quickly to bigger pockets at that time, and haven't really looked back since then. So if only I could take the knowledge I have today and put it back then, I would have done a lot differently. But we're here, and I have loved the journey that I've been on ever since. So,
absolutely, I think we wouldn't be where we are without the journey. So
that's right.
Bumps and all.
Agree with that.
It's a great journey.
It is a great journey. So that's how I got started. An accidental landlord is what we call that, I think, these days.
Yep, for sure. Did you ever back then imagine that path would take you into a dealership, running a mobile home dealership?
Absolutely not.
Wow.
But it's pretty amazing. At that point, I was, so my background, I was a project manager for a while, and then I became a nurse, and I worked in the ER for many years, and then got into management, and then got into software implementations. And at that time, I was consulting with very large-scale implementations in hospital systems, and anywhere from Tennessee to California to Arizona, like doing a lot of big projects. And I loved what I did, truly. And
oh, wow.
I was doing the travel consulting full time, and then on the side, I was doing some of the other things on the rentals and such that we picked up along the way. And at that point, we actually had a cell phone retail store as well. And just life and time and opportunity has led me here to a dealership, which is just crazy to think about, but I love it. So it's good.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I guess when you first started out, or at least the first couple years, right? How did you know whether a mobile home, because they're tricky, right? How did you know whether it was worth renovating versus pulling it out and putting in a new one or newer one, right? Or just walking away from this deal? What was your
So if the numbers are right, I don't ever walk away from a deal. And at that time, I really was hitting home runs with amazing deals that came my way, honestly. And I'm a pretty stubborn person. I think most things are fixable, right? I'm a believer in everything's fixable in life. So unless the home had truly been burned out, I can see opportunity in there. And some of the homes I would get, whether it be literally someone giving them to me because they were done with it and I moved it, or I saw opportunity in nursing, and um, I was very thrifty back then when I was doing it even more so. Nowadays, I have a few different standards with that because I see the
Mhm.
value in new. Obviously, that's what I do. And then whether
Right.
I sell it as a spec home or I'm working with a family or an investor to set up a new manufactured home and have them either take it and sell it or help a family establish an economically viable, affordable home option. And you look at the pricing all over the place, and I don't know how people do it. I couldn't afford my home here today if I started out in Raleigh. So yeah, it's so depending on what your goals are, I think that unless the home is absolutely destroyed, a lot of times I would try and remodel it. But nowadays, I just bought an acre last week that has a single wide on it. We're going to pull that single wide out and put a double wide in and retail sell that. So my goals have changed. If I have a single wide on a property nowadays, I'll pull it into one of my parks and set it up there, or I'll
Mhm.
try and retail sell it on marketplace. But my goal is a little bit more profit these days than what I used to look at with some of these homes when I'm retail selling them. So
Well,
Mhm.
Pam, when you said you believe everything can be fixed, that comes probably from your nursing background. I mean, you're a nurse. You fix things. You fix people. So I
I
can
haven't
tell.
thought about that. I used to say that every home I triage the patient, I triage the home, right? And very few things I'm gonna throw out, but it all comes up from my country growing, my country growing. What was that, country or not? My country raising in the sticks, where you just don't toss things out. You figure out a
You
use
don't
and
do it. Yeah.
repurpose. My mom was one that we would call it a hoarder these days to a point, but she, as soon as she threw out something, she didn't need it, so we didn't throw out very much. But these days, I'm a bit more practical with time and repair, and then what's the true function of it. But yes, it probably does come a
Mm.
lot from the world of ER nursing and triaging and working a project at a time. So yes.
Right.
Mm.
Right. So I guess I'm curious too, is like how you went from, you buying your first one on accident. What was your other journey, like as Sharon brought up, to get to where you it sounds like you own a mobile home parks, right?
I have mobile home parks, and now I have a dealership. My goal
So
over
that
time is to have
journey, how
three
did that
dealerships.
come about? Yeah, how'd that go about?
Yeah. So the park was pretty straightforward for me. Once I realized after only 3 months of having these 5 lots and 5 homes there that I was cash flowing really generously on owner financing, I'm like, wait, this is a no brainer. So at that time, I was buying with cash, and I would buy several other properties, and I'd buy a property, it would sit because at that time I didn't have the money to fix them up necessarily. Nowadays, it's a
Mm.
different story with that timeline.
Right.
So I did a course called Mobile Home Boot Camp, which they still do. I think it's all online now. It's Frank and Ralph. At that time, they were the fifth largest mobile home park owners in the U.S. And I did a course with them that was a weekend in Colorado, and I made a goal to buy a park with between 75 and 150 units within the next 12 months after that.
Mhm.
And I had something under potential contract, and I'll tell you the reason why it was potential. Within 3 months after that class, that was 74 lots, and I bought that within 6 months. So I met, right at 74, 75. And that was someone that I had, again, small town connections, right?
Right.
Uh, the guy owned the hardware store, and when I'd stop and I'm like, "You ready to sell that mobile home park?" He's like, "No, never going to happen." So one day I was in that little town and I stopped in, and his son was working there, and I'm like, "Where's your dad?" And he goes, "Well, he passed away." And I'm like, oh, "I'm so sorry. Hey, what are they doing with the park?"
Yeah.
It wasn't just yesterday, right? It was a little while.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
said, "Well, mom's got that under contract. Why don't you call her?" And so I called her, and she called me back 2 weeks later, and she ended up canceling the contract with the other guy because she liked me. So who you know and who you are makes a big difference in this.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I bought parks. I bought a couple of land home packages where I was doing a lot of marketing. I bought probate houses, and then I did some that I owner finance back out. So my favorite story is I bought a double wide on land with 3 acres in the
Mhm.
middle of nowhere, right back in the country again. and I bought it for around $18,000, and I resold it for $120,000 on a note. So it was a great win-win-win, and yeah, I just haven't stopped. So the way that the whole dealership came about was I was doing spec homes. So I would buy land, I would set up um, the new home on there, mainly double wides, and then I would sell them retail sale. And at some point, I figured out quickly that when they are delivered directly from the factory, the drivers only drive. They don't do anything else. I got a call one afternoon, and it was a driver, and he said, "Miss Fisher, I have a part of a double wide, and if you don't have somebody here to help me up this little hill, it's going to be sitting in the middle of the road." And I was like, "Well, we can't do that." So thankfully, my team was able to get out there, and it was a minimal little hill, but the driver wouldn't do it. So we found a storage place quickly after that. And then the storage place ended up offering me, did I want to open the lot that they used to have there, after telling me they weren't going to do it. And then when I asked him what was different, he said, "Well, you got the hustle that we had, so we'd like to offer it to you." And it took me a few months to say yes, but I finally did, and not looking back. I'm a believer that when opportunity knocks, am I going to regret it or am I going to take it? And I'm a bit of a risk taker, adventurous girl, so let's go take that risk.
Amen,
so that's what we got here.
Yeah.
Are you getting these on seller finance? Or are you doing some traditional lending or purchasing? Like the businesses and stuff.
Sure. So these are, when I'm doing them through the dealership, I'm selling those, right? I've done a couple here and there that we're doing as owner financing. If I've taken one and either have a long-term partner or potentially a DSCR that I can flip over. I shouldn't say that out loud, should I? Take something and do owner financing that way. But you make profit and then you turn that profit in a different way. But I really like providing those opportunities for the potential to be able to do owner financing, because we all got to start somewhere. So my long-term goal is to actually have a fund where we not only purchase land and set up homes, we sell some, but then we also have the ability to actually owner finance them and take a 10 to 15% down payment, and then the fund just self-generates and creates. So that's my goal. I'm hoping I'll get that up and running probably within the next 6 months or less, once I get a few more things solid within the dealership and those processes. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. How are you buying your mobile home parks though? Are you buying those creatively? And your business, did you buy that creatively?
So all of my mobile home parks I've done on owner financing. I was blessed with the gift of gab, and I've been able to do that.
Yes, you were. Yes, ma'am. That's what I love about you.
All right.
I have a colleague, Adam Snyder, that tells me that I could sell ice to an Eskimo. And I'm like, wait, that doesn't sound very nice. He goes, no, it's good. Coming from him, it's a true compliment. But, I think we all have commonalities. We just have to pause long enough to figure out what that is. And when I start talking to people, it just, magic happens sometimes, right? As far as this business, I've done a lot of figuring it out as we go. I'm the figure it outable. Everything's,
everything is figure outable.
So I'm leasing the lot, but I know that they would like to sell it eventually. And then I have learned a ton of things without having a background in them about floor planning, which is basically line of credits for your manufactured homes when we bring them on. And then, having phenomenal folks along my journey that believe in me and have seen what I do. I don't love posting on Facebook, but it's kind of a means to an end sometimes, because when people see what you do, they're like, hey, how do you do that? So it looks like Dawn is talking about mobile home park ideas, but not being so common in New Jersey. So we need to connect, Dawn. I know that you and I have recently connected. I've got to follow up with you on that, and I've not been good at that. But I've been fortunate with some of the folks I've come in contact with that see what I'm doing and have been generous with the support. And so working it out. And then one day I will hopefully buy the land that we're on. They've got the dealership, the office. I've got about 10 homes on site right now, which is so fun to watch come alive. officially opened the mobile home dealership and manufactured home dealership on June the 1st. And it's, I went from nothing out in May to having 10 plus out there now. So it's fun to see it come alive. So
awesome.
Good stuff.
Did you start that business, or was it already existing and you added to it?
Good question. So the folks who own the land and the property had it open many years ago. And then during COVID, they just shut down the dealership because everything changed. Your supply chain became impossible. What could have taken 3 weeks to get for a home now became 12 months. You couldn't get a price commitment because everything tripled and quadrupled. I mean, just think about what happened to lumber, right, during the COVID time period. And when you had a house that you thought you were remodeling for, $50,000, all of a sudden that $50,000 became $85,000 because prices increased so drastically. So I was able to come into an existing building that was an office and a permanent sign out there already. Their sign says Vision Homes, and there's a big VH in front of it that's like initials. So I just took the website or took the name VH-Vision Homes and have just made that my own. So everything that I have now is vhvisionhomes.com. That's what our emails are. That's what our business LLC is. So that was to my advantage to take something that was existing and kind of known in that area. And
tweak it a little.
Yeah. And say, my mom bought a home for you 15 years ago. So that's kind of fun for me to get those calls and have a good reputation behind us. My dog's wanting to get excited with us talking on this phone.
Oh, that's okay. We love dogs here.
Say hello in a minute. So I was fortunate that the reputation in our community is really positive with this group as well. And I have built-in mentors that I didn't even know, and that's come in handy so many times. Just something as simple as, how does the insurance work when it's at the factory has the insurance. When it's being driven down the road, the drivers and the transport team has the insurance. But once it's on site and starting to be set up, we have as a dealership a different type of insurance that you have to be a dealer to do. And then once it's on the permanent foundation, we can move to the homeowner's insurance. But, little things like that, just clarifying and having that mentorship there on site has been phenomenal. So it's good.
That's awesome. So let me just pivot to industry for a minute. Where do you see mobile homes fitting in with like the bigger picture of affordable housing right now in America?
So I honestly believe that manufactured homes are the answer to affordable housing. Flat out, no question. I think that, when I do presentation, I had a presentation available. I wasn't sure if we were going to do anything like that or not, but I had it. What I say is these homes today are not your granny's manufactured mobile homes, right? You've heard them called wobbly boxes, aluminum boxes, tin, tornado twister, whatever you want to call it, right? They are just not the same. And back in 1976, some significant changes happened in the manufactured home world. Housing Urban Development, or HUD, came through and made significant changes to not only the energy efficiency and the way that they're insulated, but also to the quality structure. And then again in 1984, some things happened within the industry. So, when we talk about a manufactured home versus a stick-built home, think about the fact that you just have the simplicity of not having the weather being a factor when building that house, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever a builder starts on a house, any lot here, you may have rain, you may have ice, you may have sleet, you may not have protection in that home. So from the time this home is started to the time it's ending, it's been a protected space. They have material costs down to an exact science because the home materials are all there, and it's kind of like you go to stations, right? So they start with building the floor of the home and putting the electrical and plumbing in. They put the insulation on, they flip it over onto the wheels and axles, and it literally goes down an assembly line. So if the three of us were working on this home, Sharon may be responsible for putting down the flooring. I may be responsible for building walls and moving them into place. And Donda may be responsible for doing the roofing in the end, right? So we each have a specific job versus the difference is we're all doing that same job day in and day out versus when you do something on site, you've got the teams rotating in and out, right? And so you
Mhm.
have a different level of control. So these homes are well insulated. They're energy efficient. The water heater, the HVAC unit, the high E glass with argon in there. So the energy efficiency is really high compared to what it used to be. We've got 2x6 walls on some of these exteriors. So it's just at a very different level. One of the things I always say to people is that whenever you have a stick built house that you've had a GC build, if you have an issue, you end up in court. And I've seen cases get kicked out of court because if Sharon was doing business as Sharon Smith, but her LLC was Sharon Lee A. Smith, and I didn't know that because I've been writing checks to Sharon Smith. When I go to court for Sharon Smith, I can get kicked out because I didn't have her right LLC name, right? Within a manufactured home, you have the ability and have a protection at the state level. So you've got the federal HUD and then the state level that you can make a complaint if the manufacturer is not managing your issue. And they have the ability to actually shut down the factory. So they're going to respond to what you say. They have third-party inspectors and auditors that are in those factories any day of the week, but all week type thing, that they can go through and look at the quality inspection, the homes, and if they're not seeing what's supposed to be done, they can shut that down. You don't have that on the stick-built site. So it's a very different standard and quality. And then these homes are gorgeous, some of them. Some of the ones I've posted recently on between Facebook and our website, or our Facebook is VH Vision Homes, and Pam Fisher, have quite a bit out there. They're just stunning. You do not know you're in a manufactured home. They are gorgeous homes. So I really do think that these are our affordable housing answers. Our challenge right now is the concept of what used to be. So we still are dealing with zoning. We're dealing with committees. I've had to go into a commissioner's meeting and say, this is what our manufactured home looks like. It is not a wobbly box. And showing the differences with the photos and the ability to show the insulation, the structure, the build. So we're still facing stereotypes of manufactured homes and what they were versus the way of the quality and the insulation of how they are today. Two different worlds from then and now. So, but I definitely think this is part of the answer to affordable housing.
Yeah. I totally agree. So you feel like local regulatory boards kind of make it a little more difficult for the manufacturers? Well,
yes, is the answer. Just think about when we talk about ADUs, how there was a time period when no one would hear of an ADU or a tiny house. And we've been able to change those laws and those regulatory zoning requirements. I was recently learning about what they're calling flag lots, which
that's
we have that's a whole nother world. But we have the ability to make those changes. It's a matter of people like me and hopefully other people as they learn about how the quality and the standards have changed so drastically, of how when you look at the permit time processing, the fact that when the home comes on site, you already have that home together within a day and a half. In a really good case, we can get a home from start to finish on site really within 3 weeks, as long as inspections go well and weather is not pending, right? If we've got the organization of schedules and such, compare that to a stick-built home. You can't get through a stick-built home within less than 6 months.
Yeah, closer to 9.
The economies of scale, the management of materials can be amazing when we look at those pieces.
Yeah. So what's like the process? I have raw land. I want to put a mobile home.
Absolutely.
What's the start to delivery of the process, right? Obviously, like I cleared the land. Now what?
Well, before you even get to clearing that land, let's make sure your zoning is appropriate, right?
All right.
So zoning is truly the most important thing to start with. Can I put a manufactured home on site? And sometimes it's a matter of having the conversation, presenting what the home's going to look like before you get to the yes. But zoning really not assume that you can put a manufactured home.
Right, because
if there was previously a manufactured home on that lot, do not assume that you can put a manufactured home back on that lot, because some areas don't want them. They've changed ordinances and zoning purposely. So check your zoning first. Once you've got your zoning, we're going to assume that some of these areas we're talking about are more rural. And next is, of course, your septic and your perk test, or getting whatever environmental health involved to determine what you can and cannot do.
And where, right?
Say it again.
And where, right?
That's correct. That where becomes really important.
I need to know where.
That's right. And we don't determine that as the home buyers, as the investors. The county and/or a soil scientist has to determine where those soils can manage that and where that septic can go. A quick example is I have 13 acres that I bought thinking I could put quite a few lots there. Well, it turns out our soil in that area is not plentiful. And in the end, I can do 5 homes max. And 4 of those homes have to be 3 bedrooms because of the soil. So don't ever assume that. So whether it's a soil scientist or you're applying for a new permit and the county or the municipality has soil scientists to come out, they have to help you determine where you can put that sewer and septic tank and where the location and the maximum number of bedrooms. So you can always come down on bedrooms. You cannot add to it unless you expand and get approval again. So septic tank, if it's a well, obviously you've got to deal with that. And then another piece that some folks don't think about, some areas require a minimal land density. So what does that mean? I bought 2.3 acres in a location that I was sure I could divide, right? Well, it turns out in that area, they want 1.5 acres minimum for a home.
Yeah.
So I could not put 2 homes there because I had 2 point something, but I didn't have the 3 acres. So we ended up only putting 1, which was fine. But make sure you know about your zoning, your septic. Ideally, you'd have sewer options in wherever you're going. And then what is your land density? And then from there, once you've got the land cleared, the process of setting up the home is not complicated. It's just a lot of steps. And I'm going to highly recommend that you work with a dealership that knows what they're doing, because it's a lot more than folks give it credit for. We start out with dealing with a permit from the DOT, especially if it's a location that has never had a home, because you got to find the driveway, right? We can't just open up onto the highway anymore, or at least in North Carolina, I can't. I have to go to the DOT to determine what that permit looks like, where it's going, how far is it from a hydrant. And then we start with the footers on site. So if I'm putting a permanent foundation, we send someone out to dig the location of the footers based on the factory recommendations. That has to get inspected. So that becomes our first inspection. There is a permit process with this. Once that is inspected, we then pour the concrete. We typically wait a minimum of 2 days, and then we can pull the home on. So once the home's on site, we have the transport team that pulls the home from the factory onto the site. We have what we call a setup crew. And in North Carolina specifically, that setup crew is a licensed person that has gone to the state. You make sure they're licensed and they're insured. And again, as a dealer, I manage that. The setup crew is going to take and use some fun, remote control, big machinery that's going to move that home into place. And they lift it, put the piers under it, and then they put the piers under it, and they actually use a large gallon jugs, multiple of those, and tubing to make sure it's balanced. So they kind of go old school, but that's the requirement in North Carolina, is to use that for balancing it up. So the equipment that they remote control use, one of them is called a platypus, another one's called a house cat. So they're fun to watch because they move the homes back and forth, lift it up, can move it side to side. So it's kind of neat to watch them set it up. So once they get that, if it's a double wide, they're putting 2 pieces of the house together. And when those 2 pieces come together, that's called a marriage wall. Imagine that. 2 become 1. So those are bolted together. And the second set of inspections becomes a marriage wall and a setup inspection there, right? So we got the second inspection. After we pass that one, the next one we go in and get electrical, HVAC, and then our plumbing. And in my case, I say that we're not putting in the septic tank. we're not putting in the well unless that's asked for specifically. We're attaching to whatever we have there on site.
Right.
And then we get a mechanics inspection that includes HVAC, electrical, and plumbing. Right. We pass that. Some areas require that you get a zoning inspection, which is basically stating, yes, you are in the manufactured home zone. Yes, you've got the driveway. Yes, you have your house numbers on. And yes, you have your mailbox out front. Then we go through and get our foundation, our stairs, and final grading, which is about 6 inches out, 10 feet from the home to make sure we don't have puddles and drainage issues. And then we can move forward to that final inspection. So there's about 6 different levels of inspections that have to occur. And then we can get the keys and the certificate of occupancy. And then we can have that turnover for the owner of the house or the investor to be able to post it and sell it. So it's a few steps, but we manage them efficiently and push them through fairly quickly when the right scenario of weather, right? We can't control the weather. And then the great resources that we work with every day.
Yeah.
So I can see why you definitely would want somebody that knows what they're doing, because this sounds like you got it dialed in and it can be done in a fairly short process. But I've seen some mobile homes sitting there brand new that are just like sitting there for months. And you're like, correct. Obviously they didn't select the right company or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
they're trying to do it themselves. They're trying to do it themselves. They're fumbling through. They don't really know the process because it's not their, skill set. It's not their industry.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they think they're going to save a bunch of money, but reality, it's not worth the headache.
No.
I would agree with that. I'm not going to tell you that we've always been perfect. We've improved this process. Your location makes a different weather. My goodness, weather. Because these homes are not light, and then you've got the big equipment coming in. So if it's been raining for multiple days in a row, and back last year about this time, it was raining every day, we were 4 to 6 weeks off of our schedules because of that, right?
Yeah, because
and
it's a raw lot.
Just to come back out and making sure that if we have 6 levels of inspections, I may have passed my inspection on the first and second one, but that final person comes back and says, wait, I don't like this, right? So if all 4 of us are inspectors, we all look for something different. We don't have control over that, right? So there's some things that we can manage proactively. Other things, we work through them as they come up. It's just like anything. Everything's figured outable, right?
Yep, right. So are you guys using the same manufacturer on your lot? Do you only sell for one manufacturer, or do you have multiple manufacturers?
I have multiples. They say that in the industry, there's 3 big C's. You've got Clayton, which is owned by Warren Buffett at this point, right?
Right.
You've got Cavco, and then you have Champion. So 3, Cavco, Champion, and Clayton. And those are big, big, big giants in this industry. And they own even some of the other places that you drive by. Like beside of me, there's an Oakwood Homes. That's really owned by Clayton, right? Regional Homes is owned by Champion. So there's Fleetwood is owned by Cavco. So even though it may not see those 3 C's, they oftentimes are owned by it. I'm an independent, so I'm not owned by anyone. I can represent whoever I like. So I have those 3, plus I have a manufacturer I love called Timber Creek. They are a smaller independent manufacturer, and they make stunning homes. And then Cavco purchased another group out of Georgia called Destiny. I really like their homes as well. Some of the other ones that we don't have yet, but we may be getting, is Sunshine Homes. That's a fairly high-end one that can have granite and marble inside of it. And then there's one called Your Valley, which is gorgeous. And then Franklin Homes as well. So there's different levels, different places. We can also do modulars, which is a whole nother discussion. A whole nother discussion on another day. Yes. So right now we have 4 different manufacturers on our lot to view. And the good thing about it is they're all in different price ranges, right? Our nicer, more high-end homes at the moment are our Destiny and our Timber Creek, but I can get higher end in both Clayton, Champion, and also Cavco as well. So we have the gamut there to run depending on a price tag and what someone's looking for.
Right, right. So do you guys also like have you do in-house financing? You kind of talked a little bit about that, or you have a company that does the financing for you guys?
So we do not directly do financing yet, right? That's my long-term goal, is to have a fund at some point. So there are a few bigger lenders out there that specialize in manufactured and modular. One of them is called 21st Mortgage, and 21st is owned by Clayton and Warren Buffett again. If you go to a Clayton home dealership directly, they're going to call it Vanderbilt Mortgage,
Yes.
but to independents like me, it's called 21st. And then Triad Financial is another one. Triad is actually owned by Champion. And then the other one that we use is called Cascade Financing. And I think they're independent, truly. But the good thing about those type of lenders is they specialize in manufactured and modular. So you don't have to go in and explain what you're doing. There's something called a chattel loan. And a chattel means that I'm not including the land in that financing. It's just the home only. So in my park, if I sell a home there, somebody can buy that home as a chattel loan, right? So it's just the home. If I have my land and I don't want to use my land as collateral, or I don't want it to be financed into the home, I can do a chattel loan on my land separately, right? Otherwise, we do a land home package or a refinancing with the land and the home. But 21st, Triad, and Cascade are the big ones that I know of at the moment. For individuals that are coming in, the good thing is, even as a person doing it as an investment, if you want to hold it as a rental, you can apply as an individual and then attach your LLC to it after you've been approved individually to buy some of these homes as well. The more challenging piece that we're working through with a few investors right now is if investors want to borrow money to set up a new home for retail sale. That is more private lending. I'm working with a rehab wallet at the moment to figure out a process with them to be able to do it for investors if I'm involved as a dealer, because they understand the number of steps and how that title process moves as well, and who owns that, because it gets confusing for lenders if they're not aware that whenever you start your funding process, that home is not on site. So what is the asset, right, is what they ask of what am I lending on? And then at what point do they get that collateral with what we call an MCO, or a manufacturer certificate of occupancy? And where is that held? Is it held in escrow? Do we get and transfer it to the DMV? And then eventually the goal is for it to become part of the real estate of that home. So
Gotcha. Monique, I see you talking. Did you have a question?
Looks like Monique's traveling in the car with some folks.
She is. I think she's got her granddaughter with her.
Can we hear you?
Can't hear you.
Oh. Leave and come back. Let's cross our fingers and hope it works.
Right.
She always has good questions, so I want her to ask away.
Well, Pam, I wanted to ask you real quick on the mobile homes. I know in the state of Washington when I was there, I'm in Arizona now, but you could only move a manufactured home twice. Is that that's kind of nationwide?
I'm not going to say that's nationwide. I will say that you cannot move a home that is older than 1976.
Okay.
There was a point when you could move it to someone else's house for storage. You can't even do that now. So 1976 is a big deal. I'm not going to tell you I know that 2-time move rule. So I don't know that.
You should check that. If they're going to, like, somebody's buying one to move, they should definitely check that that's okay to move that one, that it hasn't been moved. The limited time, they don't allow them to be moved too many times, I think, for structure purposes, right?
That would make sense. I'm going to follow up on that in my state of North Carolina, because I have not been asked that question. It's rare I get a question I don't know the answer to these days. So I'm going to follow up on that and find out if there's a maximum number of times you can move that home. That's a really good statement. I know modular homes have some idiosyncrasies with financing, that if you move a modular home, it's more challenging to get it financed. But I have not heard that specific question on manufactured. So I'm going to follow up and post that retrospectively in the Facebook world here. Okay.
And I got one more. You keep saying manufactured and modular. Just a quick definition between the two, just so we just kind of understand? I know you said it was a
good question.
But just a real brief description.
Absolutely. So manufactured homes and modular homes are typically built in the same factory, right? Okay. So Champion, for instance, makes modulars and Champion makes manufactured. And there may be days when they have what they call HUD houses, which is your manufactured, on the same line beside of a modular home. So the first distinction is HUD homes or manufactured homes are built to a federal standard. Modular homes are built to your state construction code. So that's the first difference. Manufactured is built to a HUD, a housing urban development, which is a federal standard. And modular homes are built to your state construction code. That is the first distinction. A manufactured home will have wheels and axles actually attached on the bottom. And when they are on site and become part of real estate, you can and typically do remove the wheels and the axles off of that home, as well as the hitches. A modular home does not have wheels and axles attached. You can do an on or off frame modular, but they are typically picked up with a crane and placed onto the back of a travel trailer, like a truck bed, and travel down the road. Okay. And then whenever the modular home is on site, you already have your foundation and your piers ready to go. And then the home is lifted with a crane and placed on top of the foundation and piers in 2 to however many extra pieces, if there's a double stacked or multiple configurations. And then the crane is used to lift the roof and scissor that together as well. So your roof height is higher with the modular, but the main difference is manufactured is HUD, modular is state. Okay. Manufactured has wheels and axles attached. Modular does not have wheels and axles attached. It is lifted up as an on or off frame modular and placed on the back of a truck bed. And then when we get on site, your modular home has the foundation and piers already done. And then the crane will lift the home and put it into pieces. And then if it can go 2-story up to 3-story even, and then a crane is used to raise the roof with the scissor lift at a higher roof pitch than you can have on a manufactured.
Okay.
That's right.
That helps, because I was like, I keep hearing both of them, and I just I never understood there was a difference. So I appreciate that a lot.
State versus federal, and then wheels and axles versus crane and no crane.
Yeah.
And then what about the financing? I heard that with modular or mobile homes, that it is actually interest rates are typically higher than standard homes.
That can be the case depending on who you're using as your lender. So I would say that there's still misconceptions and confusion about what manufactured, what modulars are. Most people can't tell you the difference. And then many people don't know that a modular home is built to state construction codes, right? Yeah. So if you go to a local bank, they may or may not finance manufactured or modulars. If you have a bank that is more informed that's local, the rate is similar to a stick-built home. If you go into a manufacturer or modular specific lender, typically it is going to be a little bit higher, but it's still going to be based on what your credit and your debt to income ratio is.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right. Monique texted me her question. So when you were talking about the different manufacturers like Timber Creek, Destiny, but then you get into Sunshine Homes and Your Valley and Franklin Homes, and you were saying those are more like higher end mobile homes or higher end manufacturer homes. How big is the luxury manufacturer home or mobile home market?
It can be massive.
Yes, so, good questions.
It can truly be massive. So here's the great thing for me about manufactured homes is when I first did my first remodel about 15 years ago, I could not find comps anywhere for a manufactured home. So I kind of made it up, right? I took what stick built was in the area and I brought it down for about 15%, and the house sold quickly, right? Today, I don't have nearly that challenge because manufactured homes, especially new or remodeled ones, are very close to the same rates as modular home or not stick-built homes in those areas, right? Yeah. So when you start looking at your comps, now there are exceptions. For instance, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. Homes in Raleigh have gone from $300,000 to $900,000 to $3 million within a span of years, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have manufactured homes in these areas. So that manufactured home is not jumping at that level. However, there are areas where I've seen homes go for $400,000 and $600,000 as a manufactured home that's newer set up, right?
Wow.
So what are we typically basing our home prices on? It's on square footage, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So let's take a lake lot somewhere. And the lake lot community may or may not care that it's zoned for a manufactured home or not, right?
Right.
I would happily put some of these higher end homes on there and sell it for $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. And
Hell yeah.
you have no idea you're in a manufactured home once you're in some of these, right? Like, no clue. I know there's a builder up in Virginia that has taken manufactured homes and putting them on like 2 and 4 acres. And he's going on them and making massive decks, massive porches, and then upgrading to marble and quartz countertops inside. And he's selling beautiful figures with these homes as well, right? So,
Right.
I think it's a comparison. It's not an apples to apples comparison, but it's closer than it used to be for an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah.
I've seen homes set up at shows that we've gone to that the starting prices are $350 on a manufactured home, but they are stunning. Like, one of them had a massive built-on porch on the back that it was a triple wide, right? Stunning, and I would not hesitate to be in that house. I've seen another set up as a 12-bedroom cabin that somebody would put on a mountain estate, and it's basically one central 2,500 square foot home, and then they had 2 separate wings, basically, that each had 4 rooms in them, right? So you can get really clever and creative with some of these things.
Airbnb sounds fantastic.
That's right. You got it. So
mountain. Family reunion. Yes.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, I have homes that we can set up for about $65 a square foot on site. You cannot touch a stick-built home for anywhere close to that, right?
Yeah.
You just can't. So when we look at economies of scale and talk about affordability again, this is how we get there.
Yeah.
So, and you have drywall that's finished. You have board and batten. You have upgrades to what we call glam baths and pendants and anything you want to see inside of these homes now. We even have a home on site that I love because it has a pot filler in it. Who thought a manufactured home would ever have a pot filler, right?
Yeah.
It's stunning. And you have no idea that it's a manufactured home if you don't realize that it's a manufactured home. So.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Monique, can we hear you now?
Can we
say it again?
No, Monique's
Pam,
I was just
all right. Text me if you have any more.
where somebody's interested in buying a mobile home park, seller financing, what would you recommend? Where would they look? Where's some suggestions?
So if they're looking at a manufactured home park or community, I would start with online resources. LoopNet is a good place to look for them. Anybody that I talked about manufactured homes, go drive in the country, right? Go drive in the country. Yeah. Pull over and talk to people. I know that's old fashioned and not the way folks do anything these days. I mean, you've got everyone doing campaigns. You've got lots of brokers out there these days that are commercial manufactured homes. Get into their mailing list and see what they have. Call around and find out who's the brokers in these areas. But manufactured home parks are just a whole nother category from not only the management, but to the tenants and to the upkeep, etc. But if you're interested in that, there's definitely resources available. But start on Facebook Marketplace. Start looking in forums and groups. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there from, the Mobile Home University that I talked about to Brandon Turner is into manufactured home parks these days, right? So Bigger Pockets has a whole series of stuff on mobile home parks. Come talk to me, right? So there's plenty of options out there. In Dealmaker World, which is the way that I know Sharon specifically, there's another guy out there named Major Hilliard that does manufactured home parks as well. There's a few other folks that have them, but Major and I have been on stage together a few times talking about manufactured homes and parks. but find like-minded people and then start digging to find the homes and the parks. So
Yeah.
Cool.
that's what I would say to get started.
All right. I had other questions. Hold on.
So, is that a text, Monique?
So I'm going to put a couple plugs in on my website, which is vhvisionhomes.com. We are so happy to have a unique feature. Do I have the ability to share for just a minute, Sharon?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
Should be down at the
share?
bottom of your screen. There should be a button that says share.
Yeah, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go to the entire
I'll put
screen
you
and
on.
don't know what's going to come up initially, but we're going to figure it out.
All right. Nothing dirty, Pam.
Always clean. So this is where I am on Facebook, because I always have a lot of people ask me, how do I find you and such. I do post quite a bit on Facebook, just because I think it's an interesting journey. I do ask that you follow because I'm at that max number. So this is our website here. So it's called vhvisionhomes.com. And we do show down below what we have on site. So these are our primary homes that we have featured. This one is gorgeous. It has a pet bath space in it, which I think is fabulous.
This is what I need.
It's so cute. But one of the things I'm so excited to show here is that right up here, you see where it says property map. If I click on there, and this is a property I just bought here. When I put in this address, which on this one, it's 10111 Hollow Bridge. There it is, in Otterville. It brings up my GIS, right?
Okay.
And then I can come over here and filter and say, I want to find a 4+ bedroom and I want 3 baths. And then I'm going to say, see the 9 homes. And it shows me what I have as my options here, right?
Okay.
Wow.
So I'm going to look at this Sugar Run duplex. Did you hear that? A duplex?
Yeah.
And I'm going to select this home and I'm going to pull it over and I'm going to show exactly where it's going to go on this property. Okay?
Ooh.
You with me?
Ooh.
Now, I don't show my setbacks here, but I know what my setbacks are. So I'm going to come in and say from here to here is plenty of feet to meet my measurements. So I can do a plot map here, right, for my setbacks. You getting the idea here of why I love them?
Oh, girl.
All right, so we're going to get both of them coming in. That building is no longer there, but it still shows. So I'm showing, if I was doing this for the county, that I am meeting my setbacks, right?
Right.
It's not letting me do that one there, but let me do this one.
Yeah.
Probably because that trailer's there.
Yeah, it didn't like it there. Anyway, so I'm going to say this, and I'm going to go ahead and design my house here.
Wow.
So now I'm going to say, I really like this green color instead of that white, right? I'm going to come on down. It's not going to show me my shutters, but I can choose my shutters. And then I'm going to come on down, and I say, oh, I like that pavestone. Oh, that's too dark. Let me go alabaster, and then I'm going to say, I'm okay with the wall panels. I'm going to try some shadow oak in here. It's not going to change. Some things change, some things don't. Let's go to the kitchen. So right now we have that countertop that's probably light. Oh, that's too dark. Let's try this one that's a tan, and then that's all right. But let me try this one. So I can literally design my home as I go, right?
That is so cool.
Change my backsplash. I can change my colors of my flooring. And then in the end, I can say, do I want carpet? What color carpet do I want? Now, let me go back to vinyl. And then I'm able to come through. And on some of these homes, it will literally give me an estimate. I can save this design. And then I can share this design. So I can send it to myself. I can send it to Sharon if she and I were looking at something. So I think this is fun because how many of us like to spend time sitting and waiting and looking at things versus just doing it? So I can shop before I even come to the office or send this to Pam, right? And kind of know what I want already based on this. We're not quite there yet, but we're working through having the ability that on these, let me go back, on our filters here, that you can filter to say how many bedrooms do we have, how many of the homes have porches built on like that one. So you can pre-filter if you want 5 bedrooms, if you want 3 baths, if you want a specific one that has a fireplace. We're working on some additional filters that make this fun. And then you do have the ability that if you were interested in figuring out financing with some of those folks we talked about, you can come on in and do apply now. And you can literally do that as we go. So I think our website is pretty fun and just continuously improves as we go. I'll eventually start doing some blog stuff on here, but it does show our current inventory, and then within each of these, what other homes are available within these series. So this one's my Timber Creek, and this one's my Timber Creek. So I just think that's fun.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. I like
more
that.
than fun. That's awesome. If I were to buy something like you don't have on site, but I just go through all the things and decide that I want all these options or whatever, how long does it take from me hitting order and getting my financing or to delivery? Like, how long is their manufacturing?
So the answer is it depends on which home you want, is to be honest with you. So, it's kind of like, it depends on which home you want, which factory it's coming from, and what that factory's backlog is. So we can get homes in as quickly as 2 weeks. And I have one factory that's about 3 months out. So it just depends on which home. We have a few smaller homes. Yeah.
Wow.
So we can fly with this. And depending on how you're getting the financing, if you're doing private lending versus cash is always queen, right? We can be the wholesale hotties and bringing in our own cash to do this.
Hell yeah.
But we can get these homes delivered in as little as 2 weeks, depending on which model.
Holy shit. I'm sorry.
That's
amazing.
It's exciting. I'm with you. Holy cow.
That's amazing.
Pam, how far do you guys go out from your location that you guys do setups?
So we do anywhere in the state of North Carolina. I'm also licensed in Georgia. I'm working on Virginia and South Carolina as well at the moment. So we're anywhere in North Carolina, and then I have connections in a few of the states that we can work through. So don't hesitate, even if you're in a different place than I am. I obviously think manufactured homes are fun, and they're gorgeous. If you, again, check out where Jim, we just become great friends. I think so, Jim. Let's become good old buddies. Whenever we're looking at some of these, again, I did staging today. I didn't do staging. Let me be clear. I had 2 homes staged today. Yeah. And when we took a video, I'm like, this is our house. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous. So I get excited about this. And dreams come true is amazing to me. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
And then if you're looking at the investor side, I will say that since we're all looking at this from investor piece, I think, there's good money to be made in this. I mean, I love people. I love houses. But we all got to eat, right? So there really can be great money when you figure out what your niche is and how to make it. And, I'll tell people all the time, you may live in a $500,000 plus dollar mansion. And that's great. You've done great in life. But for some people, having a home that has 2 bedrooms and 2 baths is their dream home because they've been living in a rental for X number of years or possibly had a place that wasn't so pretty and they get it brand new. And they are thrilled. So remember, it's not always at your standard that someone else needs to be in their dream, right? So when we talk about the board and batten strips that come in some of these houses, and folks are like, I don't know if I want that. Well, it's not always about you, right? It's about what can you make economically viable and affordable for someone who really is looking for a home to have their family and friends and beautiful spaces here. So,
yeah.
How long did it take you to get approved to sell these manufactured homes? Because you said you had to be licensed.
I am licensed. The approval process is not drastic. It's learning the process and then getting connected with the right factories and then learning how do I do this and what do I do, right? So what I would say to anyone, if you're interested in this, start with a dealership. I say that because I'm a dealership, but also because you don't know what you don't know initially. And setting up a new home is not the same as remodeling a home. It's just not. I have a really well-known guy in our groups who was flipping manufactured homes continuously. And he said, I want to buy a home from you. I'm like, okay, I'll sell you a home. But he didn't want me to set it up because he knew it was additional cost. And about 6 weeks before the home got there, I said, you ready for your permit? And he's like, what permit? Then I did a Zoom with him and said, just to make sure. He goes, that's a lot of steps. And then in the end, he hired me to do it. But I would say, yes, you can save money, but your first 1 to 3, work with someone that has done this before. Learn from them. We pay for mentorships all the time, right?
Right.
Pay someone that is in the dealership world that has done this to learn with them, and then figure out if it's something you want to keep doing or not.
Yeah.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. This flew by.
Dude, I'm blown away, and we're already at the top of the hour.
I know.
Pam, this was amazing. Thank you so much. Let me put your info up on here again so people can get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
So we want to check out vhvisionhomes.com.
That's
And if
it.
you want to reach out to Pam, her email is admin@visionhomes.com. And she showed her Facebook. I'm sorry, I usually have that in the
It's all right.
things, but it's not up. You can search her. She's readily out there, Pam Fisher, on Instagram and Facebook. Pam, thank you so much for coming on. This was amazing.
Absolutely.
I want to go there.
It's been fun.
I want to find my manufactured home.
That's right.
Come
That's
on,
right.
join my world. It's fun.
That's right. And let me know as soon as you have Virginia license.
We'll do that. All right. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Miss Monique.
Monique, we still can't hear you.